Welcome back to October. That's just October, but with my name in it, so don't get confused. It just means we're doing Halloween costumes. So this month we are focusing on thrift store costumes, and last week or yesterday or whenever I put the video up, I showed you guys how to do 6 pony hairstyles, and this time I'm going to teach you how we cut up their shirts, and just kind of did a really simple theme with cut up shirts. Now think outside the box for this, because if you want to be any group, you could just find the color that you want to be and then just kind of like shred up your shirts and get together as a group and make it really simple. Also pair it with like a DIY hairstyle or some really fun makeup and the look will be awesome. So if you guys want to do the pony look, make sure to watch both of these videos, and let's just get going. Alright, for Pinkie Pie, all we did was take a really big pink shirt and kind of draw out a smaller pink shirt so that we could cut it out. I got all of these shirts at the thrift store and they were really big, but we figured we were going to cut them up anyways. So for this one, I actually just made a shirt shape and cut it out completely and turned it into kind of like a kid shirt. And then once that was into a shirt shape, I cut the sides and I cut the shoulders into little slits. And then we're gonna just tie those together. So just cut about a couple inches. Make sure that this whole shirt is going to fit. But then I just folded up each side and cut little holes into the sides. So the arms I did little tassels like this and stretched them before I tied them together. And then the sides I did the holes. So just pull them and then they'll kind of start to curl a little bit, and then you're gonna just take those and tie them into a knot each. And then that will be what goes on top of the shoulder. And then that'll be the top of the shoulder. So the arm will go through the open part of that. And then you're gonna put it onto whoever's wearing it. And then I'm just taking some ribbon and I'm lacing it through the entire thing so that it keeps it nice and closed. And then for Applejack, we wanted her to look a little country, so we just cut the top off of her neck, and then we're gonna cut holes in that and put some twine through that. But I kind of just did a little V-neck, and I only did that in the front, and then you kind of stretch that out so it curls a little bit. And then I cut the back off, so you don't want to cut a V all the way around, you just want to cut a V in the front and then cut the little back off. Then I went and I cut off the sleeves completely to turn it into a tank top, and this is still kind of big, so I cut the tops and then I tied them so that it's even smaller because it's going to fit on a little kid. But if it's an adult, you might want to leave that. So just stretch those out and then cut them and or tie them, and then I cut them into a knot. Then for the sides, I just cut the entire bottom off at an angle so that I could tie the front. I cut it off in like a point so that I could tie the front into a knot like a little country girl. So I just cut straight up the top, and then I'm gonna pull those a little bit and then cut the back off straight. So I cut a lot off of this one because these are extra large shirts that I got for like $2. And then I put it on her to make sure that it's gonna fit. And then I cut holes into the top so that I could put twine in it because I wanted her to look like a little country pony. I don't know. I guess it's a country pony. I guess all ponies are kind of country ponies. But then I just kind of went over and twisted it all around and stuck that on the top and then just tied the front so that it was a little country shirt. And then for Fluttershy, we had kind of a bigger deal to do this. So I cut out a heart out of paper to make a template for the shirt, and then I traced it onto the shirt. You can do this with really any shape, but we decided to do it with a heart because Fluttershy is really sweet. So we just traced the heart, and then you're gonna make little lines across the entire heart, or you can fold the shirt in half and then make lines, and then you're going to cut this into strips, but you want to cut it all the way through the to the ends of the heart. This one we didn't do that, but you want to go all the way to the design, and then for the top of the heart you can fold it in half again, and then that will help you cut those slits. And you just kind of want to stretch all those little pieces so that you can see through them and they kind of start to curl up. And then for the bottom and the sides, we're just doing strips. So we just cut little strips in. And then you're gonna turn your shirt right side out and hot glue around. I forgot to mention it was inside out when we drew on it, so you don't see that on the outside. So turn it right side out to begin. And then we just put a cute piece of fabric on the inside of the heart so that pops through all of the little designs. And I'm just using hot glue for this. You can also hot glue it and then iron over it so the hot glue remelts and it really sticks good to it. But this is a Halloween costume, so it only has to hold up for one night, so hot glue is definitely the way to go. Then turn it right side out, and then we added some crystals to the outside of the heart just to define it a little bit more. And the sides are cut and tied together, and then we just used some ribbon for the shoulders and ironed on her cutie mark, which I will show you guys in the end. All right, and then Rainbow Dash is really fun because she has rainbows. So I just cut off the entire top, front and back of her neck because I'm gonna turn this into a high neck shirt, I guess. And so I'm gonna cut the sides off completely as well. This is a big shirt and Landis is pretty small. So I just went straight up and then straight kind of over and made kind of this really low tank top, kind of like a muscle tank. So I cut the shoulders off completely. And then I'm going to do that on the other side as well. So there's these really high shoulders that come up really high on her neck. So then I'm gonna stretch these and tie them in a knot. You don't even have to cut them. I'm just tying them in a knot by stretching them up. And then we'll see if that fits. And I believe this was like super long, so I kind of modified it. So then I'm gonna cut the bottom off because we're going to cut little strips and turn it into rainbows. So to do the side first, I just cut 1 or 1/4 inch slits all the way around. Just make sure that this is the right size before you do all this. And then I cut down to the bottom and did the same thing all the way up. A good way to measure this is to put a piece of tape across and it will actually hold your shirt in place, and then you can cut right up to the tape. But we didn't do that one on this one for some reason. So do that all the way down the bottom before you put some beads on. And then we're gonna tie these sides so that I think I hot glued this. Yep, I did not tie this one, I hot glued it because I love hot glue and it's super fast and super easy. And then it gives it more of like a tassel look rather than the tied look. And then once you have everything ready, I'm gonna put beads onto the bottom. And I just got a whole case of rainbow beads at Joann's, and then we slid them on red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple onto every single one of them, and then you tie a knot so they don't fall off. I think this is one of my favorite things, and it totally takes me back to the 90s because I remember doing this to our shirts when we were kids because they were so much fun. And then Rarity's shirt is super fun. All you need to do is cut the neck off. So you're gonna cut a V in the front and then off the back. And then we're gonna cut the shoulders completely open. So you're just gonna start from up on the shoulder. And I know this is a hard thing to see, but the next shot will show you exactly what I'm doing. But get the entire neck off first, and then I'll cut the top of the shoulders. So going from the neck out to the top of the shoulder, cut that completely open, and then do that on both sides. I should have really put this not on a white table. So now once that's open, we're just gonna kind of cut even more at an angle going down the shoulders so that it's not straight across. And this is gonna give it a little bit more tassel-y look because we're gonna turn these into tassels. So now once it's completely open, you want to have it so that you cut it so that it's open. You're gonna stretch the tops so you can tie them back together, and that's what's gonna go over the shoulder. So stretch those so you have a little bit of leeway to work when you're tying it, and then tie that into a knot. And then we're gonna put that'll go over the shoulder when it's done. Okay, so then once it's tied, we're going to start on the tassels and the rest of the shirt. And this shirt is probably the most detailed one. So then you're going to cut up about 1 inch or a quarter of an inch, it depends on what you want. So cut all the way up until you hit the seam, and those are just gonna be little tassels that hang off of the arm. So you just keep working up until you hit that seam. You don't wanna go over the seam unless you do want to go over the seam like I'm doing right now. So you can go all the way up to the shoulder if you want, which will create longer tassels. And I guess we decided to do that so that the tassels were longer. So you can go over the seam. So keep working up, just up until that knot. And then I'm gonna cut off the bottom completely of the shirt. And like I was talking about before, putting the washi tape onto the shirt to hold it in place and then have a good guide to where you're supposed to cut up to. So we cut it into strips, into little 1/4 inch strips. Really, all of these shirts you can do as thin or as thick as you want. But this one is the most extensive. So just cutting it all the way around, we're going to start a pattern. So what we're gonna do is tie a knot about 1 inch down, and you wanna get them all even going around. And then you can either put a bead there or you can do it on the next one. And then you take the one from the next one over and you tie those together. And then you can put beads on. We're using our Cricut tweezer tools to push through, but you can figure that out if you don't have those. And then you just slide them up a little bit and then tie a knot so those beads don't fall off. And you finish that all the way around the shirt, and then it's super cute when it's done. Alright, Twilight Sparkle has a fun purple shirt, and what we did was cut off the sides completely so that we could tie it. This shirt was really big and she's not big at all. So we cut the sides to about her size, and then we continued up the shoulders, but we tied the sides closed. And then for the neck of this, we kind of did something different, so stay tuned for that in a second. Okay, so we're gonna cut off the sides completely, and then we are gonna cut off the arms completely, so that it really ended up being just like 2 pieces of fabric with a neck hole. So then we're going to cut a square. So we're gonna cut straight down and straight over, and then straight down again from the front and the back, and put it on and see that it's still kind of big, but it's okay because we're going to cut the sides off and tie it as tight as we want. So we cut the bottom at an angle because it was really long for her, and then we cut the sides into little inch strips so that we could stretch and tie those together. And then we took a piece of ribbon on the neck where the little corner of the square was and tied it to the armpit, and it kind of gave it a fun little look. And then we just tied going down the sides of her shirt, and that gave it the little holes look. So make sure you wear a tank top underneath it because you will see through it. And then to finish off the shirts, we ironed on all of the cutie marks, and I have this image available to my patrons in my access folder, and it's got all of the cutie marks for all 6 ponies, and you just print and cut on iron-on. We're gonna print this onto light iron-on and just let the Cricut do its thing by cutting it out and print it and all of that good stuff. So you'll notice that print and cut is awesome now because you can do 8x10, and I did them all on one spot. And then I'm just gonna iron these onto the shirt. And for some reason, I forgot that this iron-on is kind of annoying. So I just pulled them off and ironed them on the way that they are. Because I used a light iron-on and when I was supposed to use a dark iron-on or something like that. But you get the gist.